Well, welcome back. And we start the final afternoon of our forum with a focus on Africa. And I think it is the first time in Gulf conferences that we have had this focus. We have a pair of presentations, and the first one is entitled The Rebuilding of the Bricks of Our Fractured World and the Emergence of the Global South Universities Association. And the speaker is Abdul Dewale Mohammed, who is the founder and Group Executive President of the Africa Asia Scholars Global Network. Abdul, welcome to the podium. You might like the steps up this side. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And could you use this microphone?
Okay, so thank you. Look it out for my water. Thank you very much.
I'll just put up the presentation if you don't mind.
Sorry, I had to wear this under because I thought I was getting cold.
Okay. This is it. Right?
Yeah, thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and pleasure for me to stand in front of you and to be able to deliver this speech. I think I have about 20 minutes, and I'll try to be very brief. Now, the first picture you see is the center where we're trying to create history in India, and that is what they call Vagan Bhavan, the one. And then the other venue will be the Le Méridien Hotel, which will be between the 12th and 14th. And we also realize there's going to be a lot of festival in India at that time. So we might be moving the dates towards the 28th of September. Now the next bit, please. Yeah, just looking at the Global South, you can see that is along with what you call the second logo you see there is the Global South Economic Forum. It was created after we saw the less effectiveness of the World Economic Forum on issues that affects developing countries. So that had to be created after our meeting with the UN Women in New York and realizing the fact that the World Economic Forum said, we have a fractured world. It was their first conference where they had women to co-chair the whole of the event. We're very, very happy about it, delighted, because we know the powers of women. But we never knew they used women as numbers, because nothing happened after that. But we sat and said, here we've been told we have a fractured world. What are we going to do about it as an organization? Then we came up with a 3-point solution to start to rebuild the bricks of our fractured world. And that took us to that meeting we had in New York on the 19th of July, 2018 with the UN Women. And the first thing we told the UN Women on the Secretary General is that they, as the UN Women, don't even know the value of women. Because we only talk about equalities, forgetting that women have great potentials than men. However, no man can raise a finger and say, I'm born of a man. Now, we started 2015 because 2013, the UN had the president of Liberia, they had the President of Indonesia and the Prime Minister of UK, then David Cameron, to sit in Bali and discuss about the future of our future. Because realizing that MDGs came in 2000, 2015 is when they have to give the end of the goals. What report are they going to say? What are they going to tell us to do? So the body met in Bali and they said, renewed global partnership, people-centered policies. And we as an organization, we believe 100% in that. But guess what? 2015 came and the UN came with 17 goals and put partnership, which was suggested and proposed by the high-level panel of the UN in Bali, and they put that at the 17th. It's quite a sorry state, because everybody got confused, but unfortunately our universities follow, because every time the UN says this, everybody believes there's money. So everybody follow without really want to find, is this really what should be talking about now? The problem is about trust. Even the Nigerian high level, what they call it, representative, permanent representative for Nigeria in New York, who became the president of this United Nations General Assembly, when it was taking its time, he says, my time will be about building trust. So if 75 years of UN, we're just talking about building trust, we have a big problem. And then the partnership, 17 goals, and also they have OWG, which is a body set up by the UN. And the president, the chair, there were two chairs, one from Kenya and one from South America. They said, we have not even laid the foundation. They said it is within the UN. Partnership should have been the foundation, which were based on trust. So what we should be doing is looking for those who are partnering in the different subjects and see how they can be able to convince others that are not believing in partnership. Because when you say partnership, everybody's like competing. We saw what happened with the COVID. Rather than the best scientists to come together in WHO, every country was competing to make vaccines. And today, it's been commercialized. And unfortunately, too, we have not even finished about COVID. We are fighting war. Quite very unfortunate. Now, in the developing countries, we are 2/3 of the world. And we believe that if the West cannot set the standards, we should set standards that will be replicated. First, even the UN Secretary General agreed there is no ethical. He says when it comes to science, we are probably, he give us a pass. He said, but when it comes to ethics, it's a failure. It's not from UN Secretary General, I didn't say it. So ethics are gone in our education, and it is to be brought back. Qualitative education needs to be brought back. And so what you see here now is what is going to happen in September. And we're happy and grateful to our leaders who are pioneering education in the global south. It's not easy, we know that. But we appreciate that they could understand us and say, oh, this is good. Let's, for the first time in history, bring universities, heads of universities, collaborators, even the global, even the corporate system, corporate and even the government together to find an answer to the development of countries in the global south. So what you just said there, we look forward to you to start planning and engage with us to have a very strong event when we have. And it's just not having an event, because the structure, because if you want to change a system, you create a structure. But that structure must be built on trust. So for the last, since 2015, 7 years now, we've been building that around the Africa, Arab, Asia. And I can tell you, we've got this strong trust. And the basis time we have a challenge. How do we ensure this can make a change? How do you add value to what exists now? And I've just spoken to someone now who is thinking of most of our young people that have been failed even when they go into education because of the system that we have today. So that is changing. So I'll go to this quickly so that I can. These are the groups that we believe will work with us along with these events that we're doing. And we are linking with them, and that's part of our ensuring that we do it. Also, to support this is to look at those who are doing very great work around and that we need to really link up with. So to ensure that we promote excellence, good practices. So we have what is called the Global Star Leadership Awards. That itself will be initiated and launched at the event. The next one is to let you see what the UN Secretary General said about the strength of the South-South cooperation. And that is part of what we are following up. In 1955, leaders from different countries, Africa, Arab, Asia, came together in Bandung. If I ask here even now, how many people know about Bandung? Maybe one or two people. Because the universities and the government, they failed to try to promote the Bandung. Even the President Nkrumah, then the first president of Ghana, he was one of those that met in Bandung, Indonesia. And they had the 10 principles of Bandung. But this was not promoted within universities for everyone to know that leaders before have been trying to bring us together. It was Essence that created the organization called the Africa Asia Scholars Global Network on the 10th of October, 2010. And even the governments are marking it. This is the group you see marking its state anniversary. But end of the day, the civil society hardly know about this. So it's like the government on one side, the civil society on the other side. So we're also trying to say that we have a one world as against two worlds. Because if the governments can work more closely, you have what is called public-private partnership, then we can be able to achieve more. So I go straight, this is about the group of 77. When you talk about anything developing countries, everybody's talking United Nations, United Nations. But do you know that there is what is called G77? The G77 are responsible for you and me as members of the Global South. They are the ones we should be looking at to support, to initiate ideas with, to share ideas with, so that they can understand that we know, or we can also support and work with them to try to look at development. So we will be working closely with the group of 77, China. And then we have the South-South Cooperation, which is under United Nations, called UNOS. And UNOS is in Switzerland. They're also the group that are responsible for development, because we have what is called the Global North-South Divide. And in that Global North-South Divide, when COVID came, it became a bit wider again. And not only that, the fourth industrial revolution and the, artificial intelligence is going to make it much wider. So we noted this, we're working towards it, and we also realized when the UN said there is no sustainable structure. Because why do we have a fractured world? Because there's no sustainable structure. Why do we have a fractured world? Because our education is not fit for purpose. That's why we make less billionaires and we make millions of people in poverty. And we have also the South Center. President Nyerere was chairman of the South Commission, because our elders tried to see what they could do to help communities or developing countries. So they had a South Corporation, and the South Corporation is now called the South Center, which is based also in Switzerland, and at the moment is being chaired by President Mbeki. So they will be working closely with us. We work closely with them in terms of what we try to do to make changes. Now, I'll give you a quickly background on the concept of the Global South University Association. And this is what I said earlier about the meeting that was held in Indonesia, headed by 3 leaders, and what they said about renewed global partnership and also about people-centered policies. And the people-centered policies, because we don't have that, is because of structures that are not sustainable. So we've been able to find answer, and I'll come to that, how structures sustainable are being looked at or identified. And we have, over the last few years, been able to experiment on health, on agriculture, on trade, on whatever technology, And even now we are basically now education is now forced to start with. Then we have this problem which I mentioned earlier, public-private partnership, which we're partnering with the government of India along with the civil society and the corporate sector. This is just to tell you a bit about addressing the UN SDGs. And I don't know why some universities, they're still talking about what they can achieve, or rather what we should be talking about now. How can we review? Because we say 2030. It's just down the line. We're 2022, we have 8 years. And we have 17 goals we line up there. We're going to be talking about new stories again by 2030. We have to stop this. We have to talk about things that are realizable, that we can do. And the more the government can engage more with the civil society, there are big organizations out there they're dealing with, but they have realized too, there is no impact they're seeing. That's why at this event, we've been able to talk to some experts who are using technology to help the educational system. And we're saying, look, hang on. If we agree there's a failure in education, why don't we start looking at other ways that can make our lives better? Because if we don't have a fragmented education, we will not be talking about a fractured world. Well, we've been able to believe in partnership. So this is a part of the groups we've been able to partner with over the years. And we continue to partner with those who care about the change of society. Our host, we're also trying to get the Prime Minister at the moment. That's the President of India. He is more in charge of education. And that's why you see his picture there. Then we have the reactions from Global Thinkers Dialogue in SASA Corporation China. We also link into what they're doing. And that's the minister, current Minister of Education in India. And why do we pick India to build the headquarters of the site for the Global South Center for Research, Innovation, Technology, Peace, and for Sustainable Development? Because India is the first, I think China has now come forward, but India is the first country to be able to put funds with the SASA Corporation for development around the South-South. And not only that, it's the second largest population you have in the world, close to China. So there are reasons why we've taken China, we've taken India. So the two venues we're going to be using, which is Bhavan and also the Meridian for the events of that period. We've set up a steering committee over the time to look at this particular thing we're trying to do. And so we've been doing a lot of work, you know, because sometimes we believe that if you want to do things, it's not rocket science. You just have to ensure that you do a lot of consultations. And that consultation is part of what we've been working on with London South Bank University, with the Croydon Council, which was why the main man for this event today, Dr. Salama, had to be a guest at Croydon a few days ago for him to be able to know what's going on, because Croydon is one of the most diverse community in the UK. And yesterday in the evening, we had the new mayor, the immediate former mayor, and the other guests, councillors that joined us yesterday evening to Adida. So there's that correlation of connections that we're doing to ensure that we are achieving something towards growth. Now, there's about think tank. We've mentioned about SDGs, because when it comes to 2030 now, we'll be talking something else again. So we all need to know that we need to lay a foundation. From our organization, what we're doing now is to lay the foundation. And we know that it's not going to be easy to change mindsets, because our problem is about mindsets. You know, when a university vice chancellor tells you, although our job is to unlock the wealth of universities, because most universities, or even government, if you send a proposal there, the first thing that you hear, we don't have money. Do we have money for this? Do we have budget for this? We never take our time, because without idea, money is useless. Ideas can create billions, but we're lazy to look at proposals and look at how deep is this useful for our organization, not only for us, but generations to come. So we need to change our attitudes in terms of when somebody writes a proposal, that is service capital. So that is a mindset thing. And because when we had something at the London South Bank University, I think about 3 years ago, before the COVID, and we set up under the 17 goals, people that came to go and put a stamp on which areas they're interested in. Believe you me, I had to call the organizer back, that was in Westminster, and say, what's going on? Nobody was going to partnership. They were all going to different rather than partnership. And that's why we believe that the world lacks nothing. The problem we have is about trust. We need to start trusting each other. We need to start reaching out, because we forget, because I said it, because I had an orphanage in Africa, and I set up the first children organization in the UK, in Westminster. And until about 2006, I realized we don't even care about children all over the world. And that's why we went into policy. Africa doesn't lack anything. The issue about good policies. So when people say we're funding Africa, we're giving money to Africa, they're not thinking about Africa. Because if they want Africa, they will try to see the policies that are very effective and diverse or can reach a larger number of people are the ones they try to make sure that they have. No. So all this we look at, and what you see here is how come what we're talking about today. I pay tribute to Professor Dr. Toyoshi, the president of the International Association of University. Unfortunately, we've lost him. He died about a year or two ago. Because he was the first at the Oxford University, when they were having their 50th anniversary. He was the first to append his hand and say, I would love to see this. But unfortunately, by the time we meet in India, we will remember him and always pray for his souls, for him to have everlasting peace. And we have other groups that have supported this. Now, we said global partnership for development. Just a brief on that addressing global challenge requires a collective and concerted efforts involving all actors. We're all actors. So we need everyone to see how they can work closely with us. This is also about creating, we're willing to share this with you so I don't bore you much. And you can look at it. If you want a copy of it, you can always get it from the organizers or from us. And then we can always work and talk about how collectively can we work to make sure we can rebuild the bricks of our fractured world. I've said it. We've sent 3-point solutions to the Secretary General of the United Nations. We're waiting to hear from him. We have a report to get back to him because they don't read. I'm being honest with you. Even the President, the Secretary General said there's racism within the United Nations. There are issues. Even when Kofi Annan was there were reforms. Even now there are reforms, but what are we doing? We're not getting things right. And that's why we're asking for a new reform and vibrant United Nations. I come straight. I tried so that we had the first event we had was in 2011. That was the first event. 2010, we created. 2011, remembering what happened in 1955, that was why we were created. We invited ambassadors and the rest of it. And the 4 universities in Medway, in Kent. The ambassador of Indonesia, as maybe I would say nature will have it, he delivered 4-page paper. And this is what he said in 2011. That's the government saying that an NGO, a civil society organization should be supported. And we had this also which inspired us. Before he came to office, he was the minister for higher education, science, and scientific research in Egypt. And that's Dr. Salama, who we now have today as the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. What I said is, can I just say clap of hand for him? He's sitting right back over there. You're welcome, sir. That's what he said, and that inspires us. And that was his before he came into office. The then Secretary General too was then very supportive, and he's been very, very, because he came to London first to at least see us, and luckily we're together to the London Southwark University and also to see the government of Croydon. Thank you very much, President Salama. Now that is the AUAP. I am not an Asian, I'm an African. But our mindset is like the Asians don't want to link with Africans. This is my second time. I'm serving on the board of the National University of Asia Pacific. And I'm not an Asian. So we need to relate with each other so that you can see how we appreciate, not thinking because somebody is this, you feel, oh, they feel superior or whatever. It's about negotiation. No country is a Father Christmas. So if you say China is exploiting Africa, what's wrong about that? After all, it's a businessman. The point is what you build is build relationships. Nobody's for that. Even for that Christmas exploits children. So we have to realize that it's building relationship and all that can come down. That's the Professor Sato I mentioned earlier, who we've lost when he met the UN Secretary General. And I'll try to, because my time. But the major thing which I will say here, that's the Kofi Annan we give in posthumous awards, so that we remember the good work of these people, so that we can also follow on the good things they've done. We expect the UN Secretary General to launch the center. And this is a center we're trying to build. And then we intend to have 8 sub-centers across the world with experts to man. The youths are going to work closely with us in this project. And we set up the governance structure of the GSUA, and it's left for the universities' heads to be able to look at the structure, either rebuild, reform, or whatever, and that will be because they are in charge. And then that is the program that goes on the first day of the events. These are groups that are going to be working with us. These are still groups that are working with us. They have been identified, and this is what we have a gala night, and you have others that can support the program, those that can support the program. This is one of our very good trustee, first woman that will set up a business in United Arab Emirates. You know what it is to have a woman in Middle East countries, but she's the first to set up a business and own a business in the United Arab Emirates. And that's the former minister of Guinea, very close, one of our partners, one of our colleagues that's working with us, and just supporting what we do as an organization. We have 3 trees planted by them in India. That's why we're also doing that. That's about us. And this is a few about us. So that's where we operate from in Kent. And you're welcome to see us. And I will say, like Obama used to say, yes, we can. So I believe together we can change things around. We need to lay a solid foundation. It might take a while, but let's start now. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I'm very, very sorry to have had to hurry that, because what you're saying is very important. And when we talk about universities serving society, we've had examples throughout this event, and you've given many of them. And I think what that says to us is that we have to do more. We have to talk more, south-south, north-south, and so on. What I want to say is you are very welcome in Gulf conferences, and I think when we produce events in the future, we should look to carry on this agenda. And the other thing that I think we should do is make sure that your slides are up on the website for this event, so that people visiting that can see and carry on, because I do appreciate we've had to compromise a little bit on that. Thank you very much.
Anybody want to say anything?
No. Okay. Now,